The Arizona desert at the break of dawn is a realm of beautiful, silent, and ancient hostility. As the sun creeps over the jagged, obsidian-like horizon, it bathes the red, cracked earth in a harsh, orange glow that signals the beginning of another brutal day of absolute survival. Here, every single inch of parched ground is a living testament to the endless struggle for life against the elements. The red earth is split into deep, geometric fissures, gasping for a moisture that rarely comes in this rain-shadowed wasteland. Scattered green curacao bushes cling to the dry soil with stubborn roots, their leaves waxy, resinous, and chemically toughened against the relentless ultraviolet heat. In the distance, the air begins to shimmer and warp, the first sign of the oppressive heat waves that will soon dominate the entire landscape, making the horizon dance like a mirage. High above this desolate wasteland, the jagged rocky cliff rises like an ancient, gray fortress carved by the hands of time and erosion. Tucked deep within a dark, sheltered crevice scarred in the mountain is a massive natural beehive. It is a masterpiece of biological engineering that has stood for many seasons, defying the wind and the predators of the sky. You can hear it long before you see it, a rhythmic, low humming that vibrates against the canyon walls like the very heartbeat of the desert itself. A constant, industrial drone of life, in a place that usually belongs to the dead. A single Africanized honeybee lands on a bright purple cactus flower, a rare and brilliant splash of color in the monochromatic red dust. Every microscopic detail of this tireless worker is visible in the morning light. The individual pollen grains clinging to its fuzzy yellow legs like heavy bags of gold, and the translucent wings still twitching with high-frequency electric energy. It is a tiny, perfect marvel of evolution, built for both exhausting labor and violent war. Nearby, a tactical squadron of 3 bees fly, in tight formation, cutting through the stagnant air and navigating through the lethal, needle-like thorns of the desert scrub with the precision of elite fighter pilots. At the hive entrance, the activity is constant, feverish, and intensely organized. Dozens of bees crawl over one another in a frantic but calculated mass, fanning their wings in perfect, rhythmic unison to create a cooling draft, a biological air conditioning system that keeps the internal temperature of the nursery stable against the rising desert sun. Inside the hive, the golden sunlight filters through the thin, translucent wax walls, turning the interior into a glowing, sacred cathedral of gold. Hexagonal cells overflow with glistening, viscous honey, the liquid lifeblood of the colony. In the quietest, most protected corners of this wax city, the purulent white larvae stir in their cradles, representing the precious future of the colony that must be defended with every single life available. But peace is a fragile and fleeting illusion in this environment. From the top of the cliff, looking down at the vast, silent valley floor, a small, localized cloud of dust begins to move across the alkali flats, growing larger and more ominous by the second. It marks the arrival of a living nightmare. On the ground level, a red fire ant scout enters the frame, moving with a twitchy, predatory speed. Its exoskeleton is a dark, angry crimson, armored like a tank, and its mandibles are serrated blades built for tearing and destruction. It stops suddenly, waving its antennae frantically through the air, tasting the heavy, sweet molecules of sugar and bee pheromones carried on the desert wind. To this scout, the scent of honey is a call to a total, genocidal war. The scout turns on a dime and sprints back toward the horizon at full speed, leaving an invisible chemical trail of pheromones, behind it a digital roadmap and a death sentence for the hive hanging high above. Miles away, the ground itself seems to boil and liquefy as millions upon millions of red fire ants pour out of the subterranean darkness of their massive mounds. They move as a single, terrifying, and unstoppable superorganism, a carpet of red armor that covers the cracked earth from edge to edge. This is the grand army of the red fire ant empire, a biological force that knows no fear, no mercy, and no fatigue. At its head is the general. He is larger, darker, and more menacing than any other, his thick armor scarred and pitted by 100 successful kills and decades of subterranean survival. He snaps his massive mandibles in a sharp, aggressive command, and the great march begins. The sound is like rain falling on dry leaves, or the crackling of a distant wildfire, the terrifying sound of a million tiny, chitinous legs hitting the dry dirt in a rhythmic, militaristic cadence. They move under the shadows of the green bushes, appearing like a flowing river of red lava that consumes every smaller insect, lizard, or creature that stands in their path. The red line grows longer, thicker, and more focused. The target is the cliff, and the prize is the liquid gold stored within its heights. A guard bee at the hive entrance feels the vibration through the solid stone long before the enemy is even a speck on the horizon. Her wings flare in an instant violent alert. She releases a concentrated pheromone cloud that smells of sharp citrus and panic, a chemical siren that wakes the hive. The calm, industrious humming of the colony shifts instantly into a high-pitched, chaotic, and aggressive roar. The first wave of ants reaches the base of the cliff and begins the impossible vertical climb. They do not just move, they organize with terrifying alien efficiency. They hook their legs together, forming living bridges of bodies and ladders of meat to bypass the vertical gaps in the jagged stone. They are a relentless red tide rising slowly against the gray cliff face. Thousands of red bodies now cover the rock, moving upward with a primal hunger that cannot be sated until the hive is hollowed out and the queen is dead. The bees launch their first aerial counterattack. A squadron of defenders dives from the heights, crashing into the climbing ants like heavy fighter jets and sending clusters of them spiraling into the void below. But for every ant that falls into the abyss, 1,000 more emerge from the dust to take its place in the line. The general reaches the entrance first, leading the charge into the suffocating darkness of the hive. The tunnels become a subterranean slaughterhouse. Soldier bees use their barbed stingers to pierce through ant armor, sacrificing their lives with every single strike, while ants gang upon single bees, pulling at their wings and tearing at their legs with coordinated, cold-blooded brutality. In the main chamber, the delicate honey cells are torn open by the invaders, and the golden liquid spills out in thick, sticky waves, slicking the floor as the combatants slip and slide in a carnage of wax, honey, and broken exoskeletons. The ants push deeper, flooding into the nursery. They want the larvae, the soft, protein-rich future of their enemies. The nurse bees fight with a desperation that only a mother protecting her young can know, but they are being pushed back by the sheer volume of the red flood. The general smashes through a reinforced wax wall, his cold, compound eyes fixed on the queen's royal chamber. Inside, the queen bee paces nervously, her massive golden body a stark, majestic contrast to the dark, elite guards surrounding her. A royal guard bee leaps into a swarm of ants, sacrificing itself in a blaze of fury to give the queen time to retreat further into the darkness. The bees realize the standard war of stingers and mandibles is being lost to the sheer numbers of the enemy. It is time for a suicide mission, a thermal strike. A squad of elite kamikaze bees gathers in the shadows of the ceiling. They dive into the mass of ants, but they do not sting. Instead, they swarm around the invaders, forming a tight, vibrating ball of living heat. This is the heat trap. They vibrate their flight muscles so fast that the internal temperature of the ball rises to a lethal degree, cooking the ants alive from the inside out in a biological furnace. The ants, feeling the heat trap close, attempt a last-ditch effort of their own. They begin digging a secret, frantic tunnel through the wax floor to flank the queen's position from below. But the hive is ready for every treachery. A massive, battle-hardened soldier bee uses its own heavy body as a living plug for the tunnel, holding back the flood of red bodies with sheer physical strength and stubbornness. Just as the general prepares for a final, bloody charge into the royal heart, the sky outside the cliff suddenly darkens. The foragers have finally returned. Thousands of fresh, battle-ready warriors, returning from the distant desert fields with a new fury, descend upon the cliff like a dark cloud of divine vengeance. The ants are trapped between the heat ball defenders inside and the army falling from the sky. The general is overwhelmed and buried under a mountain of black and yellow bodies. He struggles, snapping his mandibles one last time in a final gesture of defiance, but the collective weight of the colony is too much for even a giant. The retreat is sounded. The remaining ants break their formation and scramble back down the cliff in a panic, falling in heaps as they attempt to escape the stinging, buzzing fury of a colony that refuses to die. The Red River finally recedes, flowing back into the horizon and disappearing into the dust and heat of the open desert. On the cliff's edge, a lone soldier bee stands tall, cleaning its antennae and watching the remnants of the enemy leave. Inside, the rhythmic, peaceful scratching of repair begins almost immediately. The spilled honey is gathered, the broken wax walls are rebuilt cell by cell, and the queen returns to her throne in the center of her kingdom. As the sun finally sets, painting the Arizona desert in deep shades of purple, crimson, and gold, the hive glows with a renewed, hard-won strength. The battle is over, but the desert never forgets a debt. The silence returns to the canyon, broken only by the chirping of night crickets and the soft, steady, and triumphant hum of a hive that stood its ground and survived the clash. Colony clash. This is the law of the desert. Subscribe for the next war.